thought Leon Edwards was going to beat the fucking bricks off you, but you proved my black ass wrong. Ooh-wee.
A lot of people just underestimate me. And then even I slide in your DMs, you don't even answer to come on my podcast. So I was like, man, why are you so hungry? And then you pick Leon. I was like, man, F this guy, man.
You just got the belt. Who do you want to see yourself defending the title against?
I had to fight Gilbert Burns at 3 weeks' notice just to be considered for a title shot. It was just putting to this guy off of a year notice, beating Wonderboy Thompson. He's like, come on, bro.
You've been training with Khabib. What's it like training with him?
He's about to get, give me a Kimura, and he's like ordering coffee to his boy outside the cage. Bro, I'm gonna be fighting for a title soon. And this guy's like ordering drinks.
Oh, it's 15-time world champion Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MightyCast.
We're good.
Well. What can we have here, boys?
What's up, champ?
What up, Belal? What up? No, what up, champ? What about you? You the champ, not me. I'm retired. I'm old.
Man, congratulations, brother, man. Seriously. Honest, no, all bullcrap aside, you're one of the GOATs. Epic career, man. It was cool to see, and I was just watching the ONE FC, and I was like, wait, no way he's about to retire right now. I thought you had one more in you, man, but it was cool, man. Amazing career.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I probably got, another 5 more in me, but I felt it was the right time to go. I just felt, you'll get, I think every athlete gets there eventually. And like for me, GSP has always been a big motivation for me. Even Anderson Silva, Khabib, John Jones. The list just goes on. And you see these guys, they're so successful in their career. And it's like some of them fight for too long. Some of them go right out on top. And for me, it was like, damn, man. Like after my last fight against Adriano, I was like, is this my life? Is this what it's all, all about? And I felt it was the right time. But I gave myself a year to make sure, because some guys, they retire and they're like, oh, I'm going to come back and fight again. There's been a lot of athletes in our sport that do that. But for me, I'm such a black and white person. It's like, no, if I'm fucking retiring, I'm never coming back. Like I'm never doing it again. So it was the right time to go out. And I appreciate you, showing me some love.
Nah, always, bro. Did the gi help? Because I'm like,
yeah.
We're doing, doing merit triathlons now. He's like, and satisfy his hunger for competition. Is like the gi.
Yes.
Now, I don't need to get punched in the face anymore. The gi is what got me here.
Yes, 1,000%. I think if I didn't have the gi, I think I probably would have competed even longer, because when I was in that kind of that limbo, I picked up motocross because my son was into motocross, and I was like, man, I think I want to race, not professionally, but I want to do Friday night racing here in Washington State. And so I got a coach, I was doing training, I was doing the whole 9 yards. And then jiu-jitsu gym opened up by my house, and I started training there. And I was like, man, this is way more fun. And I'm not getting fucked up. I don't have to load the bike, wash the bike, tighten the chain, make sure the air tire. It's just so much shit you have to do before you can even get on the track. And then when you get on the track, you get 15 minutes and you got to wait for the next person to go. And it's just, that shit was for the birds. And so jiu-jitsu kind of helped me, close that door and leave it shut, because, I compete at Worlds, Pans, Euros, Brazil, California Open. There's so many competitions, and I'm not getting hit in the head. I'm staying fit. I'm still doing combat sports. So if a motherfucker try to try me, I still can do some shit. You know what I mean? And I'm continuing to learn. So it's jiu-jitsu has been a blessing for me, and it came in my life right at the right time, like the gi did.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like you said it with Khabib, always said it, and he called it before. He's like, eventually everybody's gonna lose. Eventually your time is up. And he called it with guys like Tony Ferguson and stuff beforehand. And I was just like, but you're so dominant. You were just, I didn't really even think there was any other competition for you right now over there at ONE. So I was like, man, you could just keep collecting checks. But at what point it's like, it's not about the money, yeah, right?
Yep, exactly. And I think, like I said, it's not about the money, it's not about the checks, it's about the passion. I'm always going to have passion for mixed martial arts, seeing athletes like you go against, my pick. And I just want to let you know right now, Belal, I thought Leon Edwards was going to beat the fucking bricks off you. But, like we talked off air on DM. And if you go back and watch all of my final predictions, not final predictions, but my instant reaction, the biggest thing that I was so impressed by with you is by your constant pressure, getting inside the void and forcing him to fight. Like your relentless pace, I did not think that was going to happen, because if you watch your previous fight, when you fought Sean Brady, you were kind of you were in the mix getting on him, but you took it to a different level against Leon Edwards to where Colby Covington, that's what Colby Covington does when he fights people. He fucking bum rushes him and makes it a chaos, and Leon Edwards was able to stuff that takedown. And I thought he was going to be able to do that to you, but didn't you prove my black ass wrong? Ooh-wee. Didn't you prove me wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people just underestimate me. And even you, obviously, for myself, when I look up to somebody, and then even I slide in your DMs, you don't even answer to come on my podcast. So I was like, man, why are you so hungry? And then you pick Leon. I was like, man, F this guy, man.
Yeah.
This guy. But it was, we're all brawl fighters, right? We take everything personal. So anybody who picks against me, it's just like, I proved you wrong. How do you like that? But like you said, for yourself, it's not like a personal for you. You're just making your picks of who you think is going to win. I mean, obviously it was wrong, but I make circles all the time for my picks. And anytime I go to a UFC event, I'll get so many fighters that'll come up to me like, yo, you didn't pick me. And I'll just be like, bro, I didn't even know you look at my circles. I randomly just circle the most random fighters, and I'll get like heavyweight Russian guys that'll walk up to me and, brother, you don't pick me in my last fight. And I was like, bro, I didn't even know you had Instagram. Why are you taking it personal for? It's just fun.
Yeah. Two things on that. One, I apologize, I didn't see your Instagram messages. I had a message from Mark Zuckerberg himself, and I didn't even see it until I think 2 years down the line, because Instagram has a certain way where you have to request that bridge to be open. So I apologize, and I apologize to Mark Zuckerberg as well. No, fuck it, it's okay about him. And second, I agree with you, man. Like now that I'm in this part of my life, a chapter of life, new chapter of life, where I'm like calling fights, breaking down the fights, giving my analysis on what could potentially happen, because we want to know a fight is a fight, right? I see your picks. I know one of them you went 5-12, which is not, it's not 50, it's not 50-50, it's not 75%, but we can't always get them correct. Right. And I never forget, I was just in Vegas recently. I saw Cody No Love, and I picked Figueiredo over him. I was like, I think Figgy just has the power, and I feel he has the jiu-jitsu. And I saw Cody, and it's all love, right? It's like, I tell you right now, I was like, please pick against me. I'm going to get tapped out. Shit, I got tapped out my last competition, and people can pick against me. Hey, it is what it is. Even Kai France, I was like, I picked Steve Ercik to beat him. And Kai France goes, don't ever pick against me. I was like, hey, man, I'm happy for you. I'm always rooting for everyone. I want everybody to win. I want everybody to make a lot of fucking money. But sometimes when you're put in that position as an analyst, you have to give a prediction. And sometimes you pick right, sometimes you pick wrong.
Nah, of course. I mean, I get it. And even for myself, it was like I had the longest road to get to this title, right?
Yep. Yes.
I wasn't getting it. And it was even when I had the number one contender spot, it was to the point where if any like analyst or anybody on ESPN would say, and this guy would be a great fight for Leon, or that guy, and I would message him. I'd message DC on the side, like, bro, what are you doing? Like, talk about me. He'll be like, Leon against what's called rematch against Usman. And I'm just like, you take offense to everything, right? Because we all work hard for this. And for myself, I always feel like I'm the hardest worker in the room, and like nothing was ever given to me, and I had to like claw myself to get to the spot. So yeah, I'm going to take everything personally, especially if, you're watching a tape of me and you're like breaking it down in a certain way. And then McGregor like shares your and I was now they're making it in front of me. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're fighters. We take everything personally anyway, but as long as I keep winning, it doesn't matter to me, right?
That's right, baby. As long as some zeros and your big count keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, everything is good. Everything is good. What's going on, guys? This podcast is sponsored by Turtle Beach. Now, guys, I use Turtle Beach products all around the house when I'm in the game room and even when I'm doing the MightyCast. And I also just got a brand new pair of the Turtle Beach Stealth. The cool thing about this bad boy is that it is Bluetooth enabled. All you need is the headset along with this nice USB. This is how it talks to the headset. Now, the cool thing about this is you can put this on your computer, your PS5, or even your Xbox One X, whatever they got out right now. Look no further. We got you covered when it comes to the best headset in the game, which is Turtle Beach Stealth 600. Now, these bad boys, they have an amazing quality, super comfortable on your ears, and also noise canceling. Noise canceling effect when you're in the game. Now, if you guys are trying to step your game up, look no further. Go to turtlebeach.com. Use my promo code MIGHTY. That will save you 10% on your complete order. So go to Turtle Beach right now. Get yourself a brand new pair of the Stealth 600s. Use my promo code MIGHTY. That'll save you 10% on this bad boy headset. Shout out to Turtle Beach for sponsoring this podcast. Let's get back to Belal Muhammad. Now, let's go to the very beginning, okay? What got you into mixed martial arts? Because like I said, me being part of this analyst and calling fights and making predictions, there's so many fighters out there, so many of them, right? And that was honestly one of the first fights. Like, I've seen some of your fights here and there, but I've never actually sat down, okay, I'm going to analyze. That was my first time ever analyzing one of your fights. And so when you did this, that amazing pressure against Leon Edwards, I was like, that wasn't in the books. If I would have saw him get white on rice on all these motherfuckers, I would have probably picked him because Leon Edwards has a hard time when he gets smothered. So walk me through the very beginning of your career. You had a long road to get to the title shot, but before that, you had an amateur career. Take me to the beginning, Belal.
Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, I never grew up doing martial arts. I never even thought about being a fighter. I wrestled 2 years in high school, and I'm from like the south side of Chicago. So like the school that I went to was like a city school, and we didn't have like the best programs for anything. We had good basketball programs, good decent football program, but for the most part, nobody really cared about the wrestling team. So I went and tried out for the basketball team, and then my cousin and my brother grabbed me. They were like, "Bro, you're not gonna play. You're not tall enough." And the coach is racist. If you're not black, he's not gonna play you. So then I was like, no, I can ball with these guys because I loved basketball growing up. But they just took me to the wrestling room, and I wrestled my freshman year, and then my sophomore year we got a new coach, and because my other coach left because he's like, school's not taking us seriously. Like our mats were like in the middle of the hallway. Students would like pee on our mats because our mats, we didn't have a wrestling room or anything for us. They didn't care at all. But the coach was a real big time coach, a good coach. But he's just like, I'm not getting respected. I'm gone. So then my next year, my coach was Lewis Taylor, who's ended up being the PFL middleweight champion. But he was my coach at the time, and he was that younger coach that was cool. And I got really close with him. And then like my junior year, he was gone. So then they gave us like a security guard as a wrestling coach. And I was like, bro, I'm not wrestling with no security guard. So like I stopped wrestling, stopped caring about it. And I was going to school for law. So I ended up getting into like University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign on a scholarship just for like academics. So I was over there going to school, and I ended up just randomly seeing in a newspaper, Lewis fighting in Strikeforce. So I just messaged him I slid in his DMs, but he answered them on Facebook. And I was just like, bro, you're a fighter? And he's like, yeah. I was like, man, whatever happened to you? He's like, I was still young as a coach, and I still thought I had something left in me. So he used to, he went to college with, Rampage was his roommate, Matt Hughes. He wrestled with Matt Hughes. He wrestled with Brock Lesnar. Like he was a D1 wrestler as well. So he knew all those guys that ended up going on to become fighters. So he's like, let me test myself in there. So he ended up going to become a fighter, and he was in Strikeforce. So then I would just come home on the weekends, just go hang out with him and train with him. So I just started learning from him, and he was like a freak athlete. So he really didn't have a big gym. He only had maybe like one or two training partners. So he made me one of like his main guys. So he started teaching me from the ground up, and I learned everything starting from him. And, he was a D1 wrestler. He had crazy knockout power. He was like strong as an ox. So I learned quick going with him because I was like thrown into the fire right away. So I started learning. I started picking it up quicker. I started just falling in love with it. It was kind of like a snowball effect. And then after I got my first amateur fight, I got like addicted. Because I have addictive personality. Whenever I start anything, when I was younger, I got addicted to lifting weights. I would just start lifting weights, and I was in high school, like 125 pounds, like benching 3 plates because I just like would do it all the time. So then I got into MMA, and I was like, let's keep doing it. So I transferred to a closer school to my house and to the gym, started working out with them more and more and more. And then the amateur fight kept going. my parents didn't really. My mom was like, "Stay in school. What is this fighting thing you're doing?" I was like lying to them as I was doing amateur fight. I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting $5,000," but I was getting like bucks and like fighting in a bar for like $150. It was like nothing, but I was addicted, and I just started getting better. When you start seeing the results, you just want to learn more, because MMA is one of those things. Like the harder you work, the better you're gonna get. Like it's not. Sometimes you don't need talent, right? You just need the work ethic. And I had the work ethic, and I had the heart. So that's why having Lou mentor me and push me, I just started getting better. I was like, let me go pro after like my 4th amateur fight. I was like, let's just see if we're good enough. And I wanted to see if I was good enough right away, because I was like, I don't want to waste any time with this. If this is not going to work, then I'm going to go to school. So whenever I was local, I was trying to find the best fights. Like even my 6th fight, I was 6-0 at the time, and they called me for Chris Curtis, and I was like, "Let me fight Chris Curtis." And at the time, he was like 13-3 or something like that. But I was like, "Let me take that fight." And Chris Curtis was in the UFC now. My coach Lou was like, "Bro, they're paying you $350 to fight this guy who's UFC level. What's the point?" And I was like, "I just want to know if I'm good enough. If I'm not good enough, then I'm just gonna stop doing it." Because I was like, if I lose, I'm done. And I was like, it's not. If I'm losing to guys outside of the UFC, there's no point in me even trying to chase the dream and make it into the UFC. So, I beat him, and then all of a sudden, like, the Ultimate Fighter tryout started happening. I went, tried out for those. We made it to, like, the last interview, but didn't get on the show. So then I was sitting there still stuck in limbo, because it's so hard to get fights now for me, because they're like, yo, this kid 6-0 beat somebody else 13-3. Nobody wanted to fight you locally. So then I got into Titan FC, and Titan FC was a pretty good show at the time. So I got 3 fights with them. 9-0. I won their title, beating Steve Carl, who at the time had over 30 fights. And
damn,
UFC finally called me for a short notice fight at 9-0, and I ended up getting into the UFC from there. But even getting into the UFC at that time, like I said, we were still a small gym. So like my main training partners was like Lou and a couple of my other boys like Mike Cannon, Kevin, who I still train with right now. But we didn't have like the same system that we have now. Back then, it was just like, let's go to the gym. We're either going to spar or we're going to wrestle live. Whatever. Yeah. Then we'll just get better from that way. Now we have a system to everything. Whenever I have an opponent, it's a strategy. So like even how you said, we're breaking down Leon Edwards, we're like, he's not good to get with pressure. You got him on the back foot, get out of his kicking range. We're going to break him. We're going to fold him. But I fought guys like Damian Maia where we're just going to have to defend the takedown. We can't let him take our back. Then I fought guys like Wonder Boy, same style, where I'm like, I'm not going to kickbox Wonder Boy. So I think my lead up and my build up in the UFC, even though it was a long road, it helped me so much because I fought so many different styles. I fought the striker. I fought the grappler. I fought the knockout artist. I've been knocked out, and I had to rematch that guy. Fighting a rematch after somebody that knocked you out before, it's a mental hurdle you can go over, right? Because you're thinking about, man, does he have my number? Does he not? People don't know how hard it is. But I went through all of that, and then finally I got my shot after, the longest wait ever, longest road ever. But I think it was the best version of myself, like you said, that I am now.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You just went through your whole kind of like your journey to mixed martial arts. And I think the thing I always find fascinating, because we've had multiple guests on the show, Corey Sandhagen, we've had Aljo, we had a lot of guests, and a lot of people have different paths to get to mixed martial arts. And for you didn't wrestle as a senior. Did you do track, football, basketball, or you just like, I ain't wrestling this fucking security guard? You focus on law, then went to college. So you didn't wrestle as a senior or a junior?
No. So but I was always an athlete, right? I always went to the gym, played basketball. Yeah. So like I was always had that mindset. And then I'm a trash talker. So when I'm playing basketball on the streets, it ends up becoming a fist fight. So you get a lot of street fights growing up, but it was never like anything of, all right, let me do karate.
Like sanctioned.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, and then you went to college to get your law degree. Now, did you finish that, or did you just really went full balls deep into mixed martial arts once you found your old wrestling coach?
No, I got a bachelor's degree. So I got a bachelor's,
nice.
But, I didn't go to law school. That was always all right, we fail, then we'll go get to law school. Then from there on, you could always go to law school late. So for myself, it was always, that was considered the backup plan. But I was like, let's start this now. Let's try to, either we're going to get in or we're not going to get in early. Let's figure it out early. So by, 27, 28, we'll know what the rest of our life's going to be like.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's an amazing journey because sometimes you just never know. I always like to hear how people fall into mixed martial arts. Some people go into the Ultimate Fighter house. Some people go to the tighter Dana White's Contender Series. And you're about 34, 35, right? Like a couple years younger than me?
Right now, I'm 36.
36. So you're a little bit like, we probably started around the same time, right? Because I'm 38. I just retired, but I've been in the UFC since 2010, 2011 WEC. So I always like to hear people's navigation. Is it better to go to the Ultimate Fighter? Is it better to do Dana White Contender Series? I mean, you got into UFC at 9-0, which is pretty fucking impressive. Nowadays, it's very rare you see somebody get into the UFC undefeated. It's very, very, very rare because mixed martial arts is so damn hard, right? Like you fought the striker, you fought the wrestler, you fought the grappler. You pretty much have fought everybody. Where a lot of people, when they go through their amateur days or even their semi-pro days, they're like, oh, I'm going to stay away from that guy. He's too hard. Oh, that's a bad matchup. Oh, no, I'm going to think I'm going to stay away from that guy. So kudos to you for taking every fight and fighting every single person. Now, you were on how many fight win streak before you finally got your title shot? Was it 5, 6? What was it?
For my title shot, I'm 9.
9?
Yeah.
9. Imagine that. This is one thing that me and my producer talk about is, Merab, before he got his title shot against Sean O'Malley, he was on a 10-fight win streak. There's so many people who get title shots off of less work that's been put in the division. Shit, nowadays in 2024, people get title shots off losses just because there's a name or whatnot, right? And I think it's so crazy to see, that you finally got your title shot after 9-fight win streak. Merab got his title shot after 10-fight win streak. Why do you think it took so long for him to give you that title shot? Like, are you putting the work in? You doing all this stuff? What do you think it was?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's many routes you could go in once you get into the UFC, right? Because it's like, how many followers does this guy got? Obviously, it's an entertainment business. It's about getting people to buy in. But for myself, it was always like, I'm not going to sell myself. I'm not going to sell my soul. So I'm not going to be this character or get outlandish or say the dumbest stuff to people because it's fake. And you see guys that will go the fake route like a Kobe Covington, and they'll say and disrespect people's families and things like that. But we're in that day and age now where that's what people want to see, right? That we're in the trolling age where that's what people navigate to. Like, the most popular people are the ones that say the dumb stuff or are racist or are crazy like that. But for myself, being religious, being Muslim, it's like I look up to guys like Khabib. I look to guys like GSP yourself who never got out of character, right? They're always the same person, and they let their fighting do the talking for them, let their winning do the talking for them. But I just think we're in a new era now where you got to have that, that dark side to yourself. Because, you got guys like Sean Strickland who will say the dumbest stuff and they'll have 5 million followers. Or people are waiting for that viral moment where you even see guys, reporters will bait you with a question to try to get you to say something just to get a headline or just to get something that'll go something. And you could talk for an hour about something, but they'll get one little quote you say and they'll try to make something of it just because we're in the viral age where you have to say something to go viral. Do this. I think for myself, people are just, they look at me and I'm just a normal kid. I'm a normal guy. I don't have, the flashiness or even like the one-punch knockout power or the crazy strength. A lot of my stuff is just hard work, blue collar, and everything I got was from the grind. Everything I got was from fighting the toughest guys at their best moments and me beating them. And I just think people don't respect that nowadays. People don't respect hard work anymore. People don't respect the true martial artists anymore. They rather have the weed smoker or the cursor or somebody like that, and they rather see that on TV more than the old days where it was the GSPs and let's shake hands before the fight instead of let me give a middle finger before the fight.
Yeah, I wonder why that is, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I do love, some good banter back and forth, right? I do love when, I never forget when Ronda Rousey's about to fight Betch Guerrera. I was like, I ain't going to watch this fight. And then when Ronda's like, I'm going to beat this bitch's ass, I was like, all right, you sold me. I'm going to buy the fucking pay-per-view. I was like, damn it. And then she did beat her ass. But I agree with you, man. I think somebody like you and other athletes who go on 4 or 5 consecutive win streak, right? Like it's got to warrant a title shot. Not everybody is going to be a social media star. Not everybody is going to, sell, 500, 600,000 pay-per-views, but you got to look at it that it is a sport, right? If it's a sport, let's keep the sport legitimate. And if a guy is on a certain amount of win streaks, who gives a fuck if he doesn't have 200,000 Instagram followers? He's a great athlete, and he's putting W's up in that division. And so each time, I hear that person's on a 9-fight win streak or 10-fight win streak, shit, even a 6-fight win streak, they're like, I finally got my title shot. I was like, this motherfucker just had 2 wins and he got a title shot. So I'm happy you finally got it. Now let's talk about your preparation, because physically, I felt like this was probably the best we've ever seen you look in a fight, right? A lot of people are like, holy shit, Belal Muhammad looks amazing. What did you do different than the other fights? Like, were you training, was your diet on point? Were you lifting more? What did you do different to have this physical, appearance change? I'm not saying like you were fat, but you were significantly, a lot of people always say like, oh, look, he's younger, he's soft. Oh, he's 36. How the fuck does he get all strong and shredded now? Tell us how you got to that position.
It's funny because a lot of people were like posting my last fight against Gilbert Burns and this fight, and they're like, oh, look at the change. But the fight I took with Gilbert Burns was on 3 weeks notice. It was a short notice fight, and it was during Ramadan, and your metabolism, everything goes crazy. I had to cut for that fight. It was 29 pounds and 3 weeks, because they told me if I won that fight, they're guaranteeing me the title shot. So I was like, damn, all you had to do is guarantee me that. And that's all I needed, because at that point I was stuck in limbo, and it was like, am I going to need one more? I'm on an 8-fight winning streak. What else do you guys want? But then they were like, you beat Gilbert Burns, short notice. If we need a co-main event, you got it. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So for this fight, one of the biggest changes I made is I work with a chef, Ian Larios, who's probably one of the best nutritionists in the game. But I brought him out. I usually bring him out 2 weeks before the fight. This time I brought him 6 weeks out before the fight. So having him with me for 6 weeks was the best I ever felt, because as fighters, we don't really know nutrition like it's supposed to be. Like even myself, for the most part, when I'd have a morning practice, I wouldn't eat nothing. I usually do like a fasted training session. But he's like, bro, you got to fuel yourself. You're going to get better sessions. So he's giving me like potatoes and eggs. And I'm just like, bro, what are you doing, man? Should I be eating this right now? And I don't really cut a lot of weight, but just in general, you get nervous when a guy's giving you potatoes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, I shouldn't be eating this. But yeah, my sessions were fueled so much better. And I'm a guy that overworks. I have a point to I don't take no days off during the week. And my coach would be like, please take a day off on Sunday. And then on Sunday, I'll go and I'll swim a mile. And that's my day off. But it's just swimming. And I think that's considered okay. And I'll go home and I'll be bored. And I'll be like, I got to do something else. And I'll just go, I got a 5-mile jog. And then Ian living with me, he sees it. So he's knowing exactly, all right, well, I got to fuel you for this. I got to fuel you for this. Instead of like my mindset of like, I'm not hungry, I shouldn't eat. But he's like, It's not about hunger. It's about fueling your session, getting the right stuff in for your session. So having him literally helped me so much. But in general, I think the training I do is a lot different than most fighters. A lot of gyms that there are nowadays, there's big gyms, right? They have 30 or 40 UFC fighters in there. And there's not one-on-one, specific training for your fight. It's like, this is a guy UFC fight. This guy got a UFC fight. So let's just spar and, see what happens. For my gym, we're a small gym. So a lot of the stuff we do is specific. So whenever I have a fight, it's like a boxing camp. We're all breaking down the opponent. All my training partners are mimicking my opponent. And I'm not sparring you unless you're mimicking that guy. So I have 2 or 3 sparring partners. I'm not sparring more guys than that. And my coach is watching all my sessions. And he's making sure that they're doing what my opponent does. So we're like a family. So they're like, that's the thing for us. It's not like a big gym where everything for themselves, every man for themselves. We all want to see each other win. So when my training partner has a fight, I'm watching his guy. He's watching my guy. And I think I work with, who's one of the best strikers in the UFC right now. His name is Ignacio Bahamondes. He's fighting this weekend at the Sphere. But striking-wise, he's been striking since his dad's been teaching him kickboxing since he was 5 years old. And he's like 6'1". So anytime I fight a striker, he mimics him to the T. And for this fight, it was like, well, we know we're going against Leon. So a lot of our drills are specifically toward what Leon does best. All right, he's going to go body kick. He's going to mimic that head kick. So we're going countless rounds of just me taking body kicks, me taking a head kick. So whenever I see it in the fight, it's not nothing new to me. It's not nothing crazy to me. So we don't even care about sparring crazy rounds. It's more about drilling specific sets of stuff for this fight. So there's not nothing that I'm going to be surprised with. My coach, Mike Valley, he breaks it down to the T. So we'll take our notes before the fight. He'll watch the stuff and he'll be like, we're going to work on this, the whole camp. One whole week is geared toward left body kick. I don't care if we're bored of it. I don't care if we get tired of seeing it, tired of doing it. He's going to throw that body kick to me the whole time. Next week, right? Now we're going to just see the head kick hidden behind the left hand. If you have to see that and get bored of it to the point of, come on, bro, again. Like, but for us, it works. Like we just do it till we get annoyed with it. And I feel like it's working for us and everything we've done. I haven't had a hard fight in my last 6 fights. Everything, all the ones have been dominant. People can say whatever they want to say, but there hasn't been a decision where people are like, man, he got robbed, or this guy got robbed. No, they're like, really be dominator.
Yeah. Well, your training camp kind of sounds like mine when I would train with Matt. Like, it would be like, I love the fact that like I'd love to have like, you know, Michael and Nick, the producers, do like a data, like analytics, where it's like you had big gyms where it's like American Top Team, you know, AKA at one point was a big, you had Luke Rockhold, DC, Khabib, Umar Nurmagomedov. You had so many different guys in that camp, and it was more of a, I don't want to call it a factor, but you had iron sharpens iron, right? Even Team Alpha Male, you had Chad Bidness, Joseph Benavidez, TJ Dillashaw at one point, Uriah Faber. You have all these guys that are just killers in the room. I'm not saying you didn't have a lot of killers in your room, but you had, you know, the gym, you know, everybody was a family. Okay, you know what? Belal is getting ready for Leon Edwards. So we're all going to come together and we're all going to focus on Belal. Like, even when I get ready for my fights, it's like, hey, DJ's going to fight, you know, Rodtang. Okay, we're all doing Muay Thai now. We're all going to be swimming. We're all going to be Rodtang. To where you look at other gyms, like, you know, I'm going to throw an example, America Top Team. There's so many guys. You got Kyojo Horiguchi, Adrian Moraes. You got Alex Pantoja. You got everybody and their fucking mom under the sun, under the roof, who are getting ready for their next UFC fight. So how many of those guys are like, you know, Kyoji's like, well, I'm getting ready for this guy. I'm getting ready for Sergio Pettis. Adrian was like, I'm getting ready for Demetrious. You have, you know, it's like, I don't know if there's enough coaches. You know, I've never been there. This is me speaking on the outside. How many coaches are like, hey, right now we're all sitting here watching tape on Demetrious Johnson. Okay, Adrian's got to do this. Kyoji, you're gonna, you know what I mean? So I think it's I'd love to see the analytics, like how many champions or how successful is that. But I think it would be very hard because obviously you're going to have more champions in those bigger gyms because they have more fighters that, you know, get the opportunity to fight for the belt than a guy like you or a guy like me. You know, I've been on I had 11 consecutive title defenses. You just had your first title shot. You won it. But before that, you were on a 9-fight win streak. How long is your title reign going to be? Obviously, if you stay healthy enough, and when it's time for your next fight, depending on whoever that is, you just sit down and, okay, guys, let's see what this person does. Let's all sit down and watch. Like, I'd be kind of curious to see. So it's kind of a breath of fresh air I'm getting at, is that it's a small collective family gym, that not a family gym, but you know what I mean? It's a family orientated thing where it's like, hey, we're getting ready for Leon Edwards. We're going to keep doing the same shit over and over and over, day in and day out. That when we get in the fight, this is all boring. We've already seen this.
Yeah, I just also don't think that there's teams that do strategy, right? Like, I look at fighting like any other sport. If we're playing football and I'm going against a running defense, I'm going to pass the ball. And I don't think people look at it like that. Most guys will just go in there. I'm in shape. Let's just fight and see where it goes. Because you can even look at you watch the Sean Brady Gilbert Burns fight.
Yep, I did actually. Yes, I did.
Like, so what is Gilbert Burns' game plan? There was no game plan from him, I don't think, because it didn't look like he was trying to set anything up. It was just, all right, let me try to throw a big overhand. If it lands, I knock him out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it looked like Sean Brady was like, all right, let me wear around him, hit him with volume, push him to the fence, wear him, lateral movement so Gilbert can't hit me with his planted shots. So it looked like he had a plan, and it looked like Gilbert's plan was, let's just go in there and fight, see what happens.
Well, Sean Brady, he's been really impressing me lately, right? Like, he fought, KG, a friend of the show, and I just feel like physically he looked totally different. He was sharp. His hands were very crisp. He was putting together every combination. Each time, Gilbert Burns would come to the edge of the void, he will always throw that inside leg kick to disrupt his balance. And I was like, wow, he's really putting together a good rhythm. Like when I was watching, I was like, wow, he has a real good rhythm about him. Like he'll move 252 inside body kick, and each time Gilbert Burns would try to get any type of offense. Like, obviously Gilbert Burns trying to land that big shot like you were saying, but anytime he was trying to like get any momentum or any offense going, he would always shut it down. And obviously they're both great grapplers. So there wasn't a lot of like, I'm going to take you down, I'm going to try to use jiu-jitsu. It felt like I cancel it out. So he's been someone who's been like, fuck man, this guy's been putting up some good victories.
Yeah. And he was another guy that obviously when you take your first loss, you have two mindsets, right? It's either you break down and, give up on yourself, or you get better, you get stronger. And it looked like it motivated him to get better. Were you ever a guy, like even that before, were you a guy that like made game plans, strategies, or was it the same way with yourself, or just sharpen all your tools?
You know what? It's a little bit of both. Like we will make game plans. Like we will always focus on me as an athlete to get better, right? Like, when I was an amateur, I fought one fight in Muay Thai, one fight in kickboxing, one fight in boxing, one fight in shoot boxing. I did a shitload of jiu-jitsu tournaments. So I was pretty well-rounded going into my mixed martial arts fights, even when I went pro. And then there is a point in my career where when we get ready for Joseph, Matt's okay, Joseph does this. So we're going to try to strategize by this, but you thrive off fighting. Like you beat people in the transition and your work ethic. And then, so I'll go fight and it would work out perfectly, but not until, I can't remember what fight it was. And Matt is very good about like not telling you what you're good at. And at one point Matt goes, okay, DJ, like when I fight Ian McCall, I was like, I'm going to fucking bang. Like first time fighting 125, I'm fighting a guy who's fucking 5'3". Oh, we're going to slanging and banging. And I remember in Australia, we're just banging. And after the fight, I had vertigo. The room was spinning. And Matt goes, that was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, what you talking about? Fight night, baby. $50,000 bonus. We eat good. He goes, you don't understand. He goes, your greatest asset is to move and transition between martial arts without getting hit. That's what you're good at. You're not a banger. You don't, there's no point to take all these concussions and these shots. That was the first time he told me. So that's when I fought Ian McCall the second time. I was moving and I was a lot bigger because I went on a better diet. And then later in my career, Matt goes, okay, DJ, this what makes you so damn good. You thrive in the chaos. Like when you fight people, you're able to put so much pressure on them and make them make mistakes. And when they make the mistakes, you're able to capitalize on it because your technique's so good. So now when I fought Adriano the second time, I would throw a body kick. He will catch it, take me down. I'm on my back, I'm fighting. Then eventually, after doing the same, fighting him for 4 rounds, I caught him slipping, and when he slipped, that's when I got the knockout. When I fought Rodtang, I just pressure him. Eventually, he's going to open up. I get him. And that's how, so when you say Gilbert Burns, he just goes, fuck it. We're just going to, you look at him, he's like, he's just fighting. There's no set game plan. For me, there's a game plan, but there's also a little bit of it. I think it's 60-40, where it's like, okay, 60% is going to be just fucking fighting. But hey, remember, 40% is remember what he does. Remember these tendencies. So try to play in those tendencies, but you're playing in tendencies, so hopefully he overextends himself and then you can catch him.
Is it harder for you to fight a guy after beating? Like you had multiple rematches, right? You had a rematch off a loss, and you beat someone with the body knee, and then you had that second rematch. Is it like harder going into like getting motivated to fight Cejudo for the second time compared to, I got knocked out by, and then Lima, let me fight him again?
Oh man. You know what? I would say definitely yes, because I felt even the second time I fought Henry, I felt that I didn't fight. I was too strategized, right? Like I was like, okay, well, I can't out wrestle Henry because he's a good wrestler. So I'm just going to pick him apart on the feet and I'll kick his legs, do all this stuff. And then he would take me down, and he never passed my guard. He never got a submission game going on. So I was like, okay, I won the fight because I outstruck him. If you go back and look at the strikes, I outstruck him. Like he out wrestled me, but it's a fight. So I kind of like, okay, I lost a split decision. I was like, it's all good. But then when Adriano knocked me out, I was like, Matt was like, I wasn't happy where you were in training camp. It was also COVID-19. We're stuck in our rooms. There was like 3 training partners. It was just not the best training camp. Not taking anything away from Adriano. Like he caught me, beautiful uppercut, beautiful knee on the ground. But the second time I fought him, I was like, I had the best one of the best training camps. We had new people, fresh bodies that we've never, pretty much two of our gyms combined with each other. And I had fresh looks of sparring partners I'd never had my whole entire career. Because in my career, we never outsource people, meaning like, oh shit, I'm getting ready to fight Wilson Hayes, great grappler. Let's bring all these jiu-jitsu guys in. We would always like, hey, we got it in-house. We're going to make it work. This is the first time we had AMC, and then we had Charlie's Combat Club, and the two gyms came together. And then it was just, then when I fought him, I was like, I'm taking it to him, and I came out on top on that.
Are you one of those guys that would spar hard outside of camp, or like
no, fuck no,
general outside,
nope.
Or do you even spar hard in camp?
I spar hard in camp, but only hard to the body, not to the head. I don't believe in headgear, because I think headgear gives you a false sense of security that it's okay to get hit in the head. And when I'm not getting ready for a fight, I do not spar at all. Like there's just no point, because at the end of the day, my opinion is we fight to make money. And if I take all these small concussions here and there and all this stuff, then when I don't want to have a lot of concussions in CTE. So I didn't really spar a lot outside of camp. And even in camp, it was like Tuesdays, it was Muay Thai. And then Friday night would be MMA. That was it. All the rest was drilling, hard pad work, swimming, lifting, conditioning. And that was it. You see guys nowadays like, Max Holloway, he said, I don't spar as much anymore. I know what I'm doing. You starting to see a lot more fighters who don't want to spar, because that's when the cuts happen. That's when the injuries happen, etc. So for me, I think you could still get good work without sparring and have a long, successful career without putting in those hard rounds. Just like football, right? How long were they always practicing every single day, fully padded up, running, doing tackling drills and all that shit? They look at the data, they're like, dude, we're giving our guys concussions throughout the whole entire week. When it comes game day, they're even getting more concussions. So I think less sparring is better for the athlete, and it also gives them the longevity of their career that they can keep on fighting.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing telling people nowadays, even in our gym where you have those visitors that'll come and they'll go super hard. The group I tell you I go with, we're so good. We could spar. I warm up in the back before my fights with sparring. But it's just to catch the distance, catch the movement. But you got to have the right sparring partners for that. There's so many guys.
Yes.
We tell them, yeah, hey, we just go 20%, guys, and they'll still go 100%. And I've gone to gyms where guys knock each other out, and they're like laughing about it. And I'm like, bro, you guys are training partners, right? He's like, oh, yeah, but I caught him, man. Yeah, he caught me, man. I'm going to get him next time. And it's like, bro, people are nuts. It's always cool. I want to see people's mindset, especially like champions, but what they used to do for sparring. Because I'm like, you don't need to spar anymore, guys.
Yeah. You know what you're going to do. And I think the best thing, too, is that I think play sparring goes so much further. Like, my whole entire career, I never really trained out of it. My first time I ever trained outside of my career was when I trained with Henry Cejudo in Arizona, and we would play spar. We never really like boom, like try to hit each other super hard. Then, I started training, I've done some training with Aljamain Sterling in Vegas. We did so much great work, and I don't think I punched him in the face or he punched me in the face, but the grappling exchanges were pretty intense, like him, feeling his body to feel how fucking big he is. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I thought. What I saw on TV is that if you got on me, you will be a big fucking body to get off. And then same thing for him. Like when we started doing our clinch work, he goes, holy shit, your clinch work is fucking fire. Like I need some of that. And so I agree with you. I think less sparring is better for the athlete and better for the athlete's career. So now I want to switch modes. Now you have that, that gym you train with, but we've been seeing it around town. You've been training with Khabib. Now, how often are you training with him, and what are the things you've learned from training with one of the GOATs of mixed martial arts, undefeated, 29-0? What's it like training with him? And then you obviously have your other gym. What's the different comparison?
Oh, man. I mean, anytime I get a chance to train with Khabib and his team, whenever they're in the U.S., it's priceless. Like for the whole Sean Brady, I did my whole camp with them guys. And my coach always brings it up to me because Lou, who's with me since high school, he's still with me now to this day. And like anytime I go on like a trips or something, he'll come with me and he'll just be there as like, your mom in the corner, like, yeah, you got it. As like, and he posts everything on Snapchat because my family always watches Snapchats when we were in Dubai for 5 weeks. And Lou won't like post some videos. And they're like, why ain't Lou post a video? And Lou's like, nah, he got beat up today. And it just like
he's only showing the good shit. He was like, it wasn't a good day, guys. No, we don't want to post that.
Because it was getting over there, like them guys go so hard. And there's not a round off. Like in every gym, you have those rounds off, or like you said, if you have close friends that they see that you're tired, like they'll be, all right, I'm gonna go a little bit lighter with you today because you feel sorry for your boy or something like that. Over there, it's no. With Khabib's gym, they want to win every round. They want to win every second. There's no flow grappling. Like for me, I love grappling. I love I'll play guard a lot whenever I'm like rolling at my gym, and they like Khabib would yell at me, "Get up! This is not jiu-jitsu. Get up! Get on top. You're losing if you're on bottom." And like there'll be rounds where like I'm on bottom, and they're held me down for the whole round, and like for myself, I'm like, what the heck? And then he said, brother, you got to get up. Like they're not trying to give you a chance to scramble or give you a chance to do this. Like you lost that 5 minutes. So if it happens in a fight, you're going to get held down. But that whole camp was just so hard because it was, we were like, we'd do like light sparring, then hard wrestling, hard grappling. And then after it, Khabib would be like, get in the cage with him. And whenever you go with him, it's just like it's kind of like embarrassing. It's not even like humbling because he just kills you. And it's to the point where like he's on top of me and he's about to give me a Kimura and he's like ordering coffee to his boy outside the cage. And and I'm looking at myself like, bro, I'm going to be fighting for a title soon. And this guy's like ordering drinks as he's like, but it makes you think that it keeps me in that mindset of I still have a lot to learn, right? Still have a lot to work on. So I'll never get to the point of getting comfortable, even though I'm on a 10-fight winning streak. Even my coach is always, after every fight, it's like, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. It's not, oh, you look good here, you look good here, you look good here. We're always working on stuff we need to fix. And whenever you go with them guys, there's a lot to fix because their mental, it's not there's no magic to their stuff, right? It's just constant hard work. He'll push you to another level. Even after we grapple 5 rounds, then he's like, all right, now wall wrestling 5 rounds. After wall wrestling 5 rounds, all right, now we're going to do push-ups for 20 minutes straight. And I think he pushes you to the edge where you want to quit, and then he pushes you even further than that so that in a fight, there's never going to be a give-up bone in my body. Like my mindset after going with them, I'll bring that stuff home back to me in my gym in Chicago, and they're looking at me like I'm the mean guy, but I'm like, bro, we need this. These guys are doing this every day. And if this is going to help us level up, we got to take it. So yeah, it's priceless anytime I get to work with those guys.
Fuck, I'm listening to all this and I was like, man, that'd be a good YouTube documentary. It was like, Demetrious Johnson goes trains with Khabib's camp for 2 weeks. I'm like, you motherfuckers are working way too goddamn hard. Why don't you just put yourself in a position to knock him out? Who cares, brother? Keep working. Nobody cares you're fucking tired. Keep working. I'm like, God damn it. No, well, that's awesome.
You gotta get in shape before you go into their gym, into their practices. Like, if I know they're coming into town, my manager, Ali, will hit me up and he'd be like, they're coming into town like next month. I'm like, well, I got to start jogging right now.
You're like, fuck.
Yeah, even if I don't have a fight, I know that I got to be in shape just to train with them because you can't tell them, you can't look soft for them, right? So like if they're all going they're going 20 rounds, I got to go 20 rounds with them. If they're going, on a 3-mile jog and they come back and wrestling, I got to do that with them. So I got to keep up. And they're probably like looking at me like, bro, how is this guy the champion right now? Because like Khabib's just like, tossing around, but even without Khabib, like rolling with Islam, rolling with all their other guys, Sagid, guys that are earning the UFC that are so good. His cousin Usman, who just fought Bellator this weekend.
Yeah,
the guys are really good, and they all level each other up. They all push each other to get better. And like you said, like we were talking about earlier, it's not a big gym where some guys are kind of jealous of the other guy. It's like they all love each other so much and they all want to help each other get better. So even if I get tapped out by these guys 20 times, they're not making it in front of me. They're like, brother, do this next time. Stop defending this way or get up this way. So it's always a beautiful learning experience.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's it's like we said before, talking about the different gyms, how, you're being around people like that who are tapping you out, beating you up, pushing you. It shows you there's so much more that you can learn, even though you were getting ready for the world title fight, and even though you're a champion, because I'm sure if you go train with him again, you're like, you know what, hey guys, from now I'm gonna do 2 to 3 weeks with Khabib. Depending on where they're at in the world, they're in Russia, I'm gonna go. If they're in California, I'm gonna go train with those guys just so I can get that feeling. And when you go back, Khabib's probably gonna fuck you up. You'll be like, brother, you're terrible, but it keeps on pushing you. That's probably a horrible Khabib reference, by the way. Like my speech or whatnot, but I think it's good because I think every athlete needs that, right? It keeps them humble. It keeps them striving for more. And like when I do my gi jiu-jitsu and I'm with Bibiano and he passes my guard like fucking butter, I'm like, what the fuck? And he goes, DJ, 5-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu IBJJF champion. I've never you just see there's always that different level that you can strive to get to. And if you have the right mindset, the right dedication, you can get there, and the discipline, you can get there, and it keeps you hungry that you want more as a martial artist, not just as a champion or an athlete, but as a martial artist. So that's fucking dope. Okay, now let me think. Now, what do you want to do next? Obviously, you just got the belt, right? You got a couple of number 1 contenders. Who do you want to see yourself defend the title against, right? Like, who do you got? I know you got Shavkat. Who else do you have in the welterweight division that you think would be a good matchup for you?
I mean, I think right now there's Shavkat. I feel like is the most clear guy, but and I don't even think it's based off of he just beat this guy because his last win was a year ago against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I think if Usman obviously probably the biggest name in the division and the most to gain just based off legacy, but he's on a 3-fight losing streak, so it's hard to.
Yeah, is he? See, that's what I'm talking about. See, look at that bullshit. 3-fight losing streak. And look at you bringing him up like, oh, the legacy, fuck all that.
No,
fuck all that legacy.
But we're talking about it though, right? Because the last fight was a short notice fight, a week notice against Hamzat, and it was still a close fight. And then before that, you lost two title fights against the same guy, Leon Edwards. I'm not saying he deserves it. I'm just saying in general, for myself, who had to win 9 fights, and then I had to fight a number 1 contender fight. Nobody had a number 1 contender fight. But the undefeatedness of Shavkat obviously makes the most sense, but you have him. I think Ian Gary's also undefeated too. And then JDM, but he's like injured. So I think clearly it's Shavkat. And for myself, it makes the most sense. But like
I think Shavkat sounds good. And I think if Usman wants to get back in that title mix, maybe have Usman versus Ian Gary, and then the winner of that can propel them. But then that's Ian Gary taking a risk of his undefeated in order to get touched. Because obviously, me and my producer were talking about this. Athletes who sit out and wait. Like he said, it drives me insane. Like, you're in the prime of your career, you're undefeated, you should be fucking, da-da-da-da. He can chime in a little bit later and give more reference to that. But here he is.
I'm going to chime in right now because
he's muted. He's muted.
Who is this guy, brother?
Sorry. I'm going to chime in right now, and because I want to say, in reality, Usman should be fighting Shavkat, right? Because you just fought Belal. You won. You won the title. You proved yourself. I don't know why UFC is doing a thing where we're not getting these number 1 contender bouts. For me personally, as a fan, it should be Usman, Shavkat. It should have already been booked. Neither has fought for a long time, right? So for me as a fan, I'm just like, why are we not getting this? And then we'll have a definitive number 1 contender and a great fight. That's my 2 cents. I would love to see them fight, and you kind of, as the champ, you get to wait and see who's next.
Yeah, I mean, and I put that out there, right? But I think even for the UFC, Usman's so hard to beat. So right now, Shavkat has that boogeyman persona, right? He has that guy undefeated, 18 finishes, 18-0. And Usman has a high IQ. So you're like, if you're UFC, you want to risk an undefeated guy losing to Usman, who we already had that Usman championship run. Like, let's give it to another guy, give him another shot. So it gives new blood in the division. If I'm UFC, I'm assuming that's the reason why. But yeah, like, bro, I had to fight Gilbert Burns at 3 weeks' notice just to be considered for a title shot. Here's just putting to this guy off of a year notice, beating Wonderboy Thompson, who was on a 3-fight losing streak. Is like, come on, bro.
I fucking like. He said consideration. He goes, we'll consider it if you win on a 3 weeks notice. We'll consider maybe give you a title shot, but do you want it or not? And I mean, that's one thing I love about Michael, because he has that fan perspective, and I do too. But I also come from an athlete standpoint where it's like, dude, Like, who is the number one contender? Like is it Shavkat? Is it Usman? Is it Ian Gary? And Michael's right. You just won the belt, and now you're sitting back and you have no idea who's the number one contender because they don't do it like it was before. Like, I always knew who was the number one contender in my division because you have, John Dodson just beat the number one guy, and then you have Chris Carriasso, who's on a 5-fight win streak. You have Kyoji Horiguchi, who's pretty much undefeated, and he's just beating all these guys. Like, I knew who was my next fight because they would have that number one contendership spot. And it seems like they got away from that. And that's one of the things I love about Michael's perspective, because he was like, these I'm sick and tired of UFC fucking raw dogging me and not giving me my number one contendership fight because what the fuck, man?
Yeah. So Shavkat has not fought since December 16th
of 2023.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, how that makes zero. And then Kamaru was October 21st, 2023.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? I don't get it. I'm sorry. It is crazy to me. Again, I'm not the fighter. There's a lot that goes into it, but maybe some injuries that they didn't say to the public, whatever it may be, some travel issues. But two guys who have not fought for a year, have them go against each other. They had a year to book this fight. That's what I think. And then we have Shavkat on Twitter going at you, Belal, being like, hey, why are you not accepting this fight? You're the one who just fought and won the title. He's the dude who's not fought for a year. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because he'll say, oh, he's not. He said he was going to be an active champion. I'm like, bro, I literally just won the belt, and you haven't fought at all. But like I said, too, it's not him tweeting. It's some sort of management. So I'm like, bro, let me hear him say this sentence in English first. Let me hear him say it, because he doesn't even speak English for him to be talking trash. Thoroughly like the way that this guy is going back and forth with me on Twitter.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see what fight you do next, because, like I said, I think your last fight against Leon Edwards was absolutely amazing. Like, you just shutting him down and just the constant work ethic and grind. You never gave him, and you actually outstruck him. Which like I said, Leon Edwards is a sniper. He's not a high volume guy. He's more of a quality striker. He's looking for the right shot. Sometimes that hurts the sniper, because Matt always tell me, in order to land the right shot, you have to just throw bullshit out there. So you got the guy just doing all this bullshit trying to protect himself, and then you can find that right shot. So you shut that shit down real quick. You outworked him, and I can't wait to see, especially hearing that you designed the game plan around the opponent you're going to fight. So if you were to fight Ian Gary, a guy who runs a lot, who likes to use the distance, control the void, got a guy like Shavkat, who's kind of pretty well-rounded, tall, I would assume. When you're 5'3" and you look at it at the TV, guys look a lot bigger than they really are. It'd be kind of interesting to see how you go about and designing your game plan and your camp around the next person you fight.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, I have the target on my back, right? Because before it was always, well, Usman is the champion, so I'm breaking down Usman the whole time. For me now, it's like, we don't know who's going to be next, so we're watching everybody. And I love watching fights, even though I'm doing cardio or something. So I'm watching all these guys. So when I do get the call, I'll have an idea of what we're going to do and what we're going to break down with it. But yeah, when I look at any of these guys, there's not really a specialist in the group, right? There's not like a Dave Maya where I got to work super hard on this jiu-jitsu. Most of all these guys are pretty well-rounded and pretty striking heavy. There's not a guy in there where I'm looking at like, I got to start wrestling super hard for this one guy because his wrestling's really good or his grappling's really good. I think I'm pretty much better than the rest of the guys that I'm probably going to fight on all aspects. So now it's just about getting better myself, sharpening myself, and just coming out with a new version of myself. Because now people watch that Leon Edwards fight, they see the pressure. Now I got to show them something else the next one.
Yep. Love that. You being 36, what do you do for recovery? Right? Because I know as I aged in mixed martial, just in general, and obviously the work ethic and the workload for getting ready for the fights, what do you do for recovery? Because like I said, when you're 36, that testosterone starts not pumping out as good. Like, what are you doing to recover?
I think the key to me is just, obviously I get massages, I get sauna, but not getting out of shape, right? Because there's so many guys that they don't start training until they have a camp. They get into the gym, and then the first 4 or 5 weeks is getting rid of that extra weight or getting into camp shape. For me, I like to train. I'm staying in the gym nonstop, and I'm just since I have other guys who have fights, it's keeping me active and keeping me in their corner, keeping me in shape, ready, so I don't get 40 pounds overweight. And then when it's time to fight, I have all the extra weight on me. And now, like you said, you're older now, so your body doesn't cut weight as like it used to. Or this, so now I got to start treating myself like a champion. The first thing that Khabib told me after winning the belt was like, brother, now you got to work harder. Now you don't take your foot off the gas. You got to work twice as hard. He said, train harder, because now they're all coming for you.
Damn. And how many years you want to fight? You're 36. You just got the belt. Obviously, as we age, other things in our life come, family, kids, businesses. Like, how much more longer do you want to fight for?
For me, it's honestly, it's all about body, right?
Yep.
Knock on wood, we feel really good. The last camp I was in was the best I ever felt. And now it's just about cementing my legacy, because I always put my thing, gold was the goal. All my tweets, all my thing from like 5 years ago, gold was the goal. But now we got the gold. Now it's chasing GOAT status of the welterweight division. Now I'm chasing GSP, because I'm goal oriented. So I always want to, set marks and chase something. So now, before it was chase the gold, we got it. Now I don't want to feel satisfied. Now it's proving all these people wrong, that they're all coming at me. Oh, this guy's going to beat you. This guy's going to beat you. This guy's going to beat you. I don't really care about that anymore. Now it's just like, when it's all said and done, I want my name to be right next to GSP's on that mantle for welterweights.
Love that. Now, before we let you go, Michael, is there anything you want to ask Belal? I know he's got a busy day going out there, get to the gym, helping his other teammates. What you got for him, Michael?
Not so much a question, but I just wanted to say congrats on the title win, and fellow not only Chicagoan, but University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign graduate. Represent DJ. You don't know anything about that. You don't know that life. You don't know that college education, the being by all the farmland, and you don't know anything about that life. This is just me. This is a connection between me and Belal that you wouldn't understand.
Okay, well, you can have that. You can have that fucking connection, mate. You two can get married and ride off in the sunset for like okay, you can take your college education. I have some college education. I took human sexuality. Okay, so I know a lot about the woman. That's a true statement, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it like a class or a major human?
No, both. But I took the class in human sexuality. It was probably one of the best classes in college I've ever taken.
What was the end goal for that?
I don't know. I thought it was fun. I just needed credit, so I was let me take it.
What did you study? You said, so were you pre-law at the University of Illinois?
Yeah, so it was criminology, and then political science. But now you're talking about that stupid class you need for credit. I took a ice skating class at U of I, and ice skating class. It's so stupid.
I took a basketball class, and I drafted the roster, and we won the championship. So I'm proud of that.
Oh, I love that. I always love, like, you go to college, it's like, well, you need some extra classes. I was like, what the fuck am I going to take? And I was like, fucking human sexuality sounds fun. Let's see what that's all about. And you just take, you got Belal taking fucking ice skating. You got Michael taking basketball. You got me taking human sexuality. I want to just go out there and say, ladies and gentlemen, on press, that I think my class was a better choice. Okay.
Human sexuality.
Yeah, it was great. I'll never forget the first question. The professor was like, you guys can write whatever you want on your flashcard, and we're going to go through every single thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask, how come men blow their wad before the woman gets to climax? And then I wrote it, and he was like, okay, we got one. This person, it was anonymous. This person goes, why, da-da-da-da. And he goes, well, women, they are mental creatures. As men, we were more physical. The house could be burning down, and all we're focused on is busting that nut. To a woman, when you're f***ing her, she might be like, oh, my stomach's jiggling. Oh, my hair doesn't look good. The smallest thing could get her mind off that, that climax. And I was like, fascinating. Okay, all right. So it was a pretty dope class.
You remember this so vividly. It's as if you took it last year or something.
Well, no, it's because I remember because I have not no CTE concussions because I don't get hit when I'm moving and shit. They ain't hitting me. All right, Belal. Thank you so much, Belal. This is your opportunity to let the fans know how they can follow you, support you. I know you got a game show Thursday night, which my Black Hat's is going to be on there eventually. So this is your opportunity to let people know where they can find you.
Appreciate you for having me on, man. Again, congratulations on the Hall of Fame and the retirement. Yeah, everybody can follow me, Bully B 170. Game show, remember the show with Jason Anik every Thursday night. Appreciate everybody for the support, and waiting for the next one.
Boom, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go give this man a follow. I know me and him, we're going back and forth on Twitter. It was all love a game. I picked against him. I told him, like, even when we first started talking, I was like, I thought Leon was going to beat the bricks off you, but you proved me wrong. You got in his ass, you got across the void, you out-wrestled him, and you became a world champion. Congratulations, Belal. Thank you so much for coming on the MightyCast. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode of the MightyCast with Belal Muhammad, make sure you go give him a follow, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you guys thought about this episode. And we will see you beautiful people at the next episode of the MightyCast. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Recap. And this part of the episode is where we recap what we just went through with our guest. And our guest was Belal Muhammad. Remember the name. I love how this all came to be because this all started about me picking against Leon Edwards, and that kind of opened the gates to me and him exchanging numbers, get him on the podcast, and we did a cool thing, the predictions of who's going to win at UFC 306, and just to sit here and talk to him on a 9-fight win streak. And obviously, there's so many fighters I can't keep track of, or I don't get the opportunity to watch all of them. And the very first fight I saw him do was against Sean Brady. And that analysis from that fight, I thought Leon Edwards was going to piece him up. But boy, didn't he prove me wrong. And to hear that he wrestled and played basketball, kind of just like Corey Sandhagen, where he played basketball his whole entire, high school career, and then he jumps into mixed martial arts. But I always wonder why people don't give him the respect or the love that he deserves. Maybe because he, is a Twitter ranter. Michael, what do you think? Like, what do you think that hate comes from?
Yeah, I just think it's exactly what he talked about, which we talk about all the time, which is the fighters who fight and they just win, right? And we had Marab on the MightyCast last week who said a lot of the same stuff where he was like, I won 10 fights in a row. And when we kind of made, both of us were like, oh, you didn't get the title shot because you're best friends with Aljo, so they knew to not offer it. And he's like, guys, no. Like, I wouldn't have got, it didn't matter who was champion. Sean O'Malley could have been champion, and I wasn't going to get that title shot because UFC viewed my style as boring, and then once he picked up the social media. So I think with Belal, he just never got that respect from a character standpoint, from an investment standpoint. So that has made people, and then of course the style, right? He's a wrestler, he's a grappler, he trains with all those Dagestanis, Khabib and Islam. So the style has a lot to do with it. But if you just talk to the guy, I mean, look at that conversation. There was zero of you guys talking shit or anything like that. He's someone who is so focused on winning, and he doesn't really which I want to say he has a good Twitter game, so I'll give him that. But in terms of the mic stuff, he's not really invested in that personality, that WWE character aspect of it.
Yeah, it's always interesting because I never had a character that I portrayed when I would fight, right? I would show up, fight, win, go home. Show up, fight, win, go home. And now I feel people are appreciative of the way I carried myself in the sport of mixed martial arts. And I think eventually people will become appreciative of the way he carries himself in the sport of mixed martial arts. And you look at the game that he does against people, very dominant, very straightforward, how he goes against the victory. But you look at a guy like Khabib kind of did the exact same thing, but people loved him. Granted, he had way more finishes. Like he submitted Conor McGregor, he submitted Justin Gaethje, he submitted Michael Michael Johnson. So maybe once Belal starts putting that finishing touch on his game, like they strategize on like, okay, this is what we're gonna do to this person, but we're gonna work just a little bit extra harder just to get to that submission victory or put ourselves in a position to land that knockout shot. And then I think fans would become more appreciative of the whole product, right? It was like,
but
okay,
I will say
Belal,
though, he knocked out Sean Brady, who looks like a fucking monster now. Like Belal did finish him, so it's, I mean, it of course wasn't a flash KO, but he really just dominated him. And look at how amazing Sean Brady has looked against Kelvin, against Gilbert Burns. So I do think even that's a little bit overblown. The, his striking sucks. He doesn't finish anyone. I even think that's kind of overblown. There's a ton of guys in the UFC right now that haven't finished anyone for years, and they're still getting big fights. Like, look at someone like Sean Strickland, right? Like, his fights aren't exactly the most entertaining thing in the world, but he is this larger than life personality outside of the octagon. So it just changes the narrative.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you said his name and not me, because if I would have said that, exact same statement that you just said,
I'll get shit for it.
I would have got all the hate. I would have got all the hate. Like, oh, of course, throwing shit on Sean Strickland again, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and I agree with you, man. I just feel hopefully people will start turning the page and start giving Belal Muhammad respect. But even then, the mixed martial arts fans, they have very short-term memory where, you have the hardcore fans where they love the athlete for whether they win, lose, draw, at the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows of their career. And you have the bandwagons who are like, oh, Belal Muhammad's good now. Or, nah, he still sucks. He's boring to watch. Da-da-da. I always tell people, like, if you don't want to watch mixed martial arts, go watch Muay Thai. Go watch boxing. Or just don't, like, it's mixed martial arts. So the way that Belal Muhammad goes about winning his fights is the least path of resistance. I feel like the same thing with Aljo. A lot of people give Aljamain Sterling hate. You sit down, you talk to Aljo, he's absolutely a treat to be around. I've trained with him. I hung out with him. I've drank with him. I mean, he is a guy that I'm always going to root for, whether he's a champion or not. And I feel like Belal Muhammad is exactly the same. Like, I have not gone through the sport of mixed martial arts and met somebody that is a pure asshole, right? Like, even when I had my interaction with Conor McGregor, it was always genuine. Like, maybe he was put on a front or facade, but it's always been good. So there's not one person I can say like, oh, I can't stand that guy. He fucking sucks, right? When I see like fans say that about somebody, it just rubs me the wrong way.
No, and I think the narrative is starting to turn a little bit for Belal, but he beat a fan favorite, right? Like, that's ultimately what's going to happen. And then him being attached to that, Nurmagomedov family, that has, a set of haters as well. Just people who root against the Islams, the Habibs, the Umar. So I get it. But for me personally, I think winning, like, for me, dominance and winning is more entertaining than anything else. If you're not entertained by Belal just pretty much doing whatever he wants to Leon Edwards for 5 rounds, like, for me, that is more entertaining than if Belal was like, you know what, I see all the things the fans are saying, I'm going to stand up with Leon Edwards for 25 minutes. That would have been way more dumb than him.
Stupidest. Yeah,
than him using the wrestling, using his best tools. So he's champion. I mean, before you could hate on him, but now so what are you going to say? He's champion. It worked. Everything he has done to this point in his life has led to him being UFC champion. So you have to give him that credit.
Well, I always think what Danny Castillo said. He was like, you guys are all booing me. Have fun going to work on Monday. Right? And I think for Belal Muhammad to have that mindset, like, I'm just focusing on, he was focusing on road to gold, right? He got that, or all road leads to gold, whatever that saying he was saying. And then now he's a champion. Now he's trying to, cement his legacy as one of the greatest welterweights in the company and chasing GSP's record, which is, an amazing accomplishment at GSP. So he's got some big shoes not to fill, but he's got a big mountain to climb to reach that GSP status. And I believe he can do it, right? I mean, he's got Shavkat, which he's undefeated, all finishes. That'll be an amazing fight. And I think what you said too, that you have Shavkat versus Usman, that fight should be happening for the number one contendership. And then you also have Ian Gary, who's around there. He just fought, Michael Venom Page. And I'll be kind of curious to see what the UFC goes with for his first title defense. Are they going to do Shavkat, or are they going to give Usman the opportunity since Usman's older. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. We've seen people get title shots off losing streaks because of their name and their brand recognition. And I feel like sometimes, like when you do that, you're setting up the story where it's like, okay, here's the bad guy, here's the good guy. They're gonna fight, and then whoever comes out on top is the one we're gonna get behind. I'm not sure, but I'd be interested to see what route they take.
No, I'm happy you say that because I feel like there's some people who will potentially give me shit for that take, but I wanted to say it to Belal's face because, and it's obviously this has zero to do with Belal, but it's just frustrating from a fan's perspective because we had a whole year to book a banger of a fight. Shavkat versus Kamaru Usman, get that clear number one contender. It's the same argument I made with Sean Strickland, Robert Whitaker, which I don't know if it was a correct report, but I saw a report since then that said Strickland reportedly turned down that fight. You know, I don't know what to believe, but either way, it is wild to me because Shavkat beat Stephen Thompson his last fight, which Thompson is a legend, you know, an absolute legend, one of the nicest guys in the history of the sport. But is that really enough to be like, oh, 100% you get a title shot next? For me personally, I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I agree on your front. Obviously, like you said, we don't know what Kamaru Usman is going through. You know, obviously he's got his own thing going on. I know his body is, you know, his knees, he doesn't have the best knees and he has a lot of injuries. I think he went on Twitter, talked about that. A lot of the fans are saying he's washed and he's like, guys, you know how long it's taken me to get to this point in my career? I have, you know, dings and bangs and, you know, injuries that I'm trying to nurse to get myself back to where I need to be in order to challenge for the world title shot. And you have Shavkat where we don't know what his logistics are. So hopefully we will get a number one contendership fight booked. That way we can see who Belal is going to be fighting potentially next. But
if that fight happens, Shavkat Belal, because that is likely the next fight we're looking at. What are your early thoughts on that matchup?
You know what? I need to watch more Shavkat. A guy who he's 18-0, right? 18-0?
Yeah, I believe he's 18-0, all finishes, which is...
All finishes? So, I mean, right there, you get it. He's dangerous, well-rounded. You know, I've seen a couple of his fights. It's going to be a great fight because Belal Muhammad's going to look at the weight. He's going to look at his weakness. When you have someone who's 18-0, 18 finishes, there's not a lot of weaknesses you're going to be able to find. But I'll be excited to see what Belal Muhammad could do and how he's going to strategize against a guy like Shavkat. So I'm excited. What's your take on it?
I will say Jeff Neal and Stephen Thompson was absolutely terrific fights, but the Jeff Neal one, I will say he took a lot of damage. Like, I don't know if you remember that fight, but it was a war, and like he got rocked a good amount of times on the feet, and it was because he was so willing to enter the void, so to speak. Which I'm gonna promote our merch a little bit. There you go. He entered. Shavkat just. That was a war. So more than anything, just as I don't know what would happen, but as a fan, I very much want to see that fight. But I do wish that Shavkat didn't sit out over a year to get it. I don't like this trend of UFC fighters realizing, why do I need to come back? I could just wait and I'll get a title shot if I just talk some shit on Twitter. It's not a good trend. It's the reason why last week's UFC Sphere card was so weak other than the top 3 fights. It's I don't like the trend. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm complaining about this every week, but I'm a fan and I want to see true number one contender fights return. Belal did his job, right? He won the title. Yep. I'm the champion. Who's next? Because no one else in that welterweight division is fighting, with the exception of Ian Gary. I'll give him credit. So,
yeah. Exactly. Ian Gary's putting the work in. Like I said, we don't know what's going on with Kamaru Usman or Shavkat. Hopefully, eventually we'll get down to what's going on and have that true number one contender fight. So, but ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode of the MightyCast and the Mighty Recap, please leave a like, subscribe. Also, hit the bell to know when we go live and leave a comment down below. What was your favorite part of the episode? I am your host, Demetrious Johnson, and that is the co-host.
My favorite part was we need you to teach a sex ed class.
Sex ed class?
Sometime in the future. Which I know some people are probably going to be like, oh man, you just sucked up to Belal. But I will say for me personally, I know Belal from the past, just being around him a little bit. He shares the same manager as Henry Cejudo. It is just pretty wild for me that this is someone who's not only from Chicago, but went to my school, which I can't really think of anyone. That's what's kind of wild to me too, is Belal's this badass wrestler, right? He didn't wrestle at the University of Illinois. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty crazy story. Just think about that. Like, he went from ages 18 to 21, 22. He's in college. He's thinking he's going to go to law school. Fast forward to 36 years old and he's UFC champion. That's wild. Like, I think it's a really cool story.
Sometimes the best wrestlers or the best athletes are the ones who don't specialize in a sport. You look at GSP, he was out wrestling a lot of people in mixed martial arts, right? And then you have those guys like Khabib, who was such a monster wrestler, didn't go to college to wrestle. You know, I don't know Khabib's whole story, but I think Belal not wrestling at a D1 or Ivy League school and he's out wrestling people just shows you how good of an athlete he is and a world champion. So, and like you said, I don't know anything about the college education in Chicago and all the corn and shit that you guys do, but y'all can have that. You guys going to Sunset together?
I like how I say Chicago when he's like, I'm from the south side of Chicago. I'm from like just a north suburb. I'm like a
That's
fake.
Okay.
I'm
hey.
like a fake Chicagoan, but I'm so
fake Chi-Town boy.
Yeah, but
hey, but you know what? It was a great episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot from Belal, myself, and Michael. I am your host, Demetrious Johnson, and as my co-host, Michael Wandsworth, and we'll see you guys at the next episode of the MightyCast.